This is Terrance and Phillip, and this is my very own Terrance and Phillip for kids. But before you see that, let me tell you a story. We all know these two. They have gotten up to quite a lot over the years. Perhaps Terrance and Phillip's most infamous moment was that one song they made, which I can't say the name of without getting demonetized. Let's just call it the Alabama Family Love Song, and leave it at that. Their lack of care for censorship led to this song not being the best thing to show to kids. But come on, you've got to admit, it's kind of a banger. But with just a bit of work, I reckon I can make a clean version of the song that promotes a similar message, and a music video to go along with it. Oh, also, I have to finish it in 2 days. If I don't finish it in time, I have to face reveal while dressed up as my avatar. The Canadian characters in South Park are just about as simple as you can get in terms of animation. Basically, just some rectangles and 2 half ovals, and you have something that vaguely resembles a person. This would be very easy to make in Blender. So, to make things a bit more complicated, I decided to make it all for real, and then animate it in stop motion. Don't ask why I made it harder for myself, I guess I just love the way it hurts. I used colored card to cut out some rectangles. Then I added a few more rectangles, and glued some other rectangles to those rectangles. And now they have a body and a few limbs. All that was missing was the iconic T and P, which makes it clear that they are in fact 2 different people and not just the same person doing the same stupid things. Normal South Park characters talk like this, with mouths. But for reasons, these guys have weird flappy heads. That means that I have to make 2 versions of each head and then cut them in half. I made a template which I could then use to cut out the same head shape consistently. Then I added some hair and drew on the eyes. Now I have my very own Terrance and Phillip models that are ready to be animated. I was going to animate them doing unspeakable things, but they've already done so much dodgy stuff that I don't think it would really be anything new. I have already spent half a day making these, and I really don't want to dress up as my profile picture, so I need to quickly make the song that they will be singing. It has been heavily implied that Phillip is secretly gay for Terrance, so I'm going to make his dream come true with the lyrics of this music video. I counted out the number of syllables for each line, and realised it followed a surprisingly conventional structure. You wouldn't expect anything about these guys to be normal, but somehow this bit is. I then just had to write a beautiful song while keeping to the same pattern. I'd like to pause the video here for a moment to explain to you the significance of Terrance and Phillip within the South Park world. It's 1997 and South Park Season 1 has just come out, and general public perception is not the greatest.
Juvenile and easily satirized topics.
The show that will bring down the Republic and warp your mind.
Dismissible juvenilia.
Whilst what they were saying was ill-informed and provably very far from the truth, articles like these gave South Park a bad name, so obviously in Season 2, they decided to tone it down a bit. Wait, no they didn't. Season 2 opens with Terrance and Phillip in Not Without My Anus, introducing us to South Park's Canadian parody, which serves as a metaphor for what people thought of the show at the time. It is simultaneously a funny side plot while also serving a social commentary about media as a whole. There is more to these Canucks than meets the eye. Now, back to the bullshit. I am not a music producer, so I don't actually know how to recreate the song. But luckily, I found this karaoke version which I could use for the background. There is one point where you can vaguely hear the original lyrics, so let's just hope the kids don't notice it, or else they will have some pretty strange questions for their uncle. Also, shout out to this guy who made an 8-bit version of Alabama Family Love. It's honestly pretty cool. To make them sing my new, somehow more cursed lyrics, I made an AI clone of each of them by getting their voice and putting it into 11 labs. Actually, here is a demonstration of what they ended up sounding like.
Hey, Phillip.
Hello, Terrance.
I think you should subscribe to the MPT channel.
Why?
Because if you don't, you will die.
Oh, okay. I should probably do it then.
But wait, there was a lot in that scene that we haven't gone over yet. The most obvious thing being the background. This is what the background for Alabama Family Love looked like in the original. There is a couch, a table, and a picture, which I could all make by using the same card as the characters. Also, quick side note, this is how big the boys were when I did this with them a few months back. They were a very workable size, but for some reason I decided to make these ones in a much larger scale. This means that all the set elements had to be made bigger as well, which just means it will take longer. And I only have 1 day left to finish this thing, so I really don't have any time to spare. To get some detail into the sofa, I cut out separate elements and added some outlines to the edges. The same thing was done for other parts of the set. This is what they look like all together. But unfortunately, I can't just put my characters in front of this and start animating. I wanted to make a multi-plane camera system by suspending a piece of glass above the set so that there would be a separation from the foreground characters and the background. This is what I've done in the past, but as I said, these guys are a lot bigger, so it wasn't going to be as simple. I thought about using a few things: glass from a picture frame, cellophane, and even the shelf out of my fridge. but none of them worked, so I had to do something a bit different. By animating the characters in front of a green background, I could digitally add them into the scene, which had the added benefit of allowing me to more accurately control the lighting without worrying about shadows. There was just one more thing to do before animating, which was finishing the song. Yeah, I didn't actually finish it earlier, I got distracted. I still had to sync up the voices to the music to make it match the beat, because AI is actually really stupid and can't do that by itself. I used a technique called doubling, where I layered 2 different takes of the same line over one another to get a richer sound, and the result was surprisingly good. Right, cool. With that out of the way, it is time to animate, and I only have 10 hours left to finish the whole thing. The Terrance and Phillip characters are always very bouncy when they talk, so I tried to incorporate a few wacky moves into their singing. Let me show you how I animated each frame. I had to swap the heads to match what they were saying, then move their body to make them dance, then check everything matched up with the last frame, and finally take a picture. For some frames I used these half arms to get a somewhat natural movement, not that anything about Terrance and Phillip has been natural in the past though. There ended up being over 350 frames, and at this point I only had a few hours left. If something went wrong now, it looked like I was going to have to dress up and face reveal. I removed the green screen and brought in a picture of my background. I lined up all of the animation to make sure that the characters looked like they were actually singing. I wanted to add this grey outline that they have in the show, but I ended up running out of time. If you are familiar with my content, you will know that I usually hate animating the characters' mouths. However, I didn't have to do that this time, as they're already doing their flappy head thing, and they didn't need digital replacements. A few final things like an intro and outro card, and I finished just in time. Looks like I don't have to dress up this time, but next time I might end up having to. Here is Terrance and Phillip in Forbidden Alabama Love.
I love you so much, my friend Terrance. You're the kindest person, dear friend Terrance.
You're the best person. Oh, yes, it's true. Nobody quite as kind as you. I love you so much, my friend Phillip. You are such a nice person, my best friend Phillip.
You don't eat or sleep or mow the lawn. You're just like me all day long.
I love you so much, my friend Phillip.
You're the kindest person, my dear friend Terrance.